University Staff Union, otherwise known as KUSU. Dr. Charles Mukhwaya is here with us this morning. Good morning, Dr.
Morning, Andrew.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
And we have questions. We need clarifications.
Thank you.
So that's why you're here.
Right.
But before we put the pedal to the metal, as it were, Dennis would like to welcome you properly with today's proverb.
We are in Mauritania, a country that is rich in iron ore, gold, copper, fish, and oil. With all these resources, however, the country is ranked to be among the poorest in the continent. High poverty rates and income inequality is the order of the day in this country. Agriculture and herding is what our rural populations do here to sustain themselves. But from this country as well, we are being told something to do with the trees and how they grow. A tree that grows crooked will never be straightened. How would you interpret that?
Very interesting. A tree that grows crooked will never be straightened. Well, I want to imagine then that literally speaking, if you don't correct the wrong right at the beginning, right at the source, chances are that you allow that particular wrong to grow and move on and on, it might actually balloon out to a situation where you're not able now to correct it at all. Yes, it will snowball into something bigger and bigger than perhaps what you can be able to do.
And you know, one thing that has actually snowballed over the recent days is the lecturers and the dawn strike. You know,
Exactly.
It has been growing crooked throughout, but now it cannot be straightened. But there's hope that it can be. Yes. What's happening?
A baby that was born in
2017?
No, a baby that was born in August.
Yeah.
No, okay, September. Okay, October. Is 2 months old. September is now 2 months old.
2 months old.
In September, yes.
And we've been on strike, almost 2 months old, and we've been on strike for that
Yes.
period of time. You know, baby's already looking up, starting to smile, cool, car, those things. But this is still happening. So as yesterday we reminded that in order for you to see today and the future, we must look back and then be able to cast that forward. So like Dennis said, what's happening? Still 7.9 billion or nothing?
Thank you for this opportunity. Yes, the strike in the university is still on. It's still on because our members, right across all the 42 universities, feel that the government owes them 7.9 billion. And what the government has done, which we commend the government for that so far, they are trying to get around a way of resolving this matter once and for all. Because the feeling of members who have kept on speaking to us through our relevant organs, the National Governing Council, the National Delegates Conferences, and so on and so forth, do indicate that they want the government to pay them 7.9 billion at once and immediately. The government started with proposing the 3 first payment plan. We declined. Then the government came down again and said, okay, fine. Let us try and then get this money paid within 2 phases. That again, our organs have said no. Why? Because they feel that they have been owed this money for far too long a time. From 1st July 2017 to date. And you still want to pay them in phases up to 2029. So this little money is going to be paid for more than a decade. Where will the value of that money be? And where was the value of that money then? That is where we are right now.
8 years.
8 years so far.
So far are pushing for these monies to be paid. And it has been a conversation every other year. Every other year, it's a conversation about the dawn strike. Dr. One would ask the question, why is this money not being paid? What are some of the reasons or excuses you've been given as to why this money is not hitting your account?
Maybe I'll begin by saying this. It has taken this long because initially, when we agreed and signed this agreement on 28th of October 2019, we all agreed without anybody putting a gun on anybody's head. We agreed that this is it. And as the law expects us, after we have signed such an agreement, you submit it to the court of law to have it registered. So on 28th of October 2019, we signed. On 15th of January 2020, that agreement landed before a court of law. But guess what? When it got there, the very people we had sat and signed this agreement mutually were the first to raise their hand and object the registration of the same. The employers, the government agencies, they objected. The Salary Certification Commission, the university councils, they objected. And when they objected, the court of law, being a court of justice, had to listen to them. Why are you objecting? But at the same time, the court also said, as I listen to you, I must also attend to the workers who are waiting for this payment. So the court then went ahead to register this agreement on the interim basis and told employers, whatever that is not disputable, go ahead and implement. While I listen to your new, issues that you're raising. So, 3rd July 2020, the court gave a ruling on the interim. It said, implement. So, it was at that point that then the government looked for money to pay on the interim. The 8.8 billion.
Okay.
Because the new contestation was that the value, the cost of the entire agreement is only 8.8, according to the employers and the government agencies. But as we were telling them, but on the table we agreed the cost is 16.5 billion. Why are you now saying it's only 8.8? They said, no. This is what SRC has advised us. So they had to look for money, although it is us again who came out and looked for that money from the government to help the employer fast track the process, and it was implemented the interim. Now, the suit now began to be heard by the court. And parties made submissions. Come 15th of January 2021, the court now ruled. Gave a judgment, not even a ruling, a judgment, final judgment, and said, no, we have looked at all the submissions that you have made here. We have listened to your witnesses that you brought here. The cost of this agreement is 16.5 billion and not 8.8. At that point, none other than the government, the Ministry of Education to be specific, moved to the Court of Appeal, obtained a stay order, and filed a notice of appeal. Now, you see, with that, any time we kept on asking about our agreement,
yes,
we'll be told
it's in court.
It's in court.
Yeah.
So 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, it's in court. But luckily, because they knew they did not have substance.
So wait, so the appeal was never heard?
Yeah,
so the matter is in court?
Yes, the matter is in court, but they forgot. But this, we strongly believe, is because they did not have substance in that particular suit. Okay. So they did not go ahead to file the record of appeal, the real appeal. It just remained as a notice for all those years. But an appeal has a specific period of time within which you are supposed to prosecute it and conclude it. So from 2021 all the way to 2025, they kept on raising to us.
We're in court.
We are in court. This is a stay, and so on and so forth. But we knew, of course, after 6 months, that thing is supposed to be quashed. So we had to move to the Court of Appeal towards the end of last year. And And we informed the court, look, there was a notice of appeal that was brought before you, but it has not been prosecuted. And we feel that now it is time for you to quash this, because the period within which it's supposed to have been prosecuted is long gone. And so the Court of Appeal listened to us and said, yeah. They looked at the file and said, no, it quashed that stay and threw out that notice of appeal. And so their case collapsed. So when their case collapsed, we had now to tell them, pay us what the court indeed said. In fact, the Court of Appeal said the ruling of the lower court stays. The one of
16.5 billion.
Yeah, 16.5 billion. Now, very interesting, this country. All these government agencies, the Ministry of Education, National Treasury, Salaries and Remuneration Commission, the university councils, all these are government agencies, were in court being represented by none other than the AG. Okay. Yes. So when this Court of Appeal has now quashed and thrown out this case, the AG writes to the clients and says, our case has collapsed. That is in March this year. It writes, AG's office now writes to the Minister of Education, telling them, our case collapsed. Please get this money, work together with the Treasury, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, get the money, pay these employees. We forget about this matter now. They again slept on their job.
When you say slept on the job, what does that mean? They literally fell asleep, or they
not literally slept on the job?
It could mean that, because it doesn't make sense that a court pronounces itself on a matter and says, pay this money. However you're going to get it, whatever you're going to do is not our issue. Pay the money. It only makes sense to me that you literally fell asleep if you actually didn't make the payment.
Yes. These guys, whether they just forgot about whatever the court had declared, or whether they decided to disregard the advice from the AG's office, but they just did not make any move to sit and, try and get extra budgetary allocation to get this matter addressed. So we hang on, we keep, requesting them until September 10th, 2025. From April 15th, when the AG wrote the letter, we had to wait until September 10th. We now gave them a 7-day strike notice and said, you guys, if you're not paying us, we think we have given you ample time.
And this was September 10th, 2025?
25.
All right.
Yeah.
So here we are on November 4th. So actually it is 7 weeks since then. You gave the strike notice. It's supposed to be a 7-day notice.
Yes.
After the 7 days, there was no movement. And of course, in this case, movement means payment.
Right.
And so here we are then in the 7th week of the same, without those payments made.
Yeah.
So I keep saying this is interesting, because we have to look at the ecosystem of this strike. It's not just university workers that are on strike. But what happens as a result of that is that there are 70,000, and that's just the University of Nairobi.
Yes.
70,000 students who are not in school.
Right.
Let's just take the universities in Nairobi: Kenyatta University, Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. We're looking at the other public universities just in Nairobi. Then you want to start going to the counties.
Yes.
And you want to start, because this is not Nairobi strike. It is it's countrywide, right? So take that 70 and multiply it by, if it's going to be the average of 50,000, multiply it by 20 universities. On the lower side. We're looking at 1 million plus students who are out of school in the first semester of the new year. They've not been in school since September. Now, somebody in government is telling us, what are you talking about? Students are in school. Well, I wonder, they may be in school physically standing there, but there's no teaching that's going on. There's no process of education that is actually happening. Those lives are being affected. There are students who are supposed to be in their internship here. That's not going to happen, because who's supervising it? So we don't just have non-academic and non-academic staff not being paid. What we have as a result of that is that we have millions of students who are out of school.
Correct.
who have many traveled across the country, and where are they going to stay? Where are they going to live? The money that they've been given is on its way towards the end of the line,
Yes.
and then they've lost out on that money as well.
Yeah.
It's a whole ecosystem of problems that have been created by this. Is it somebody playing hardball, or is there actually no money, Dr.
Thank you, Do. I wouldn't really want to. First of all, we really sympathize with our students and their parents, because we have said time and again that majority of our students in our public universities come from very poor families, and so for them to come to the university, it means that their parents have had to sacrifice a lot to get them to school, and so the little money that they're given to come and make good use of it, going through the academic program. But when they come and then they find they're not learning, then that money, as you have rightly indicated, is wasted, But now, as we do that, you are asking whether there's deliberately somebody playing hardball or not. I wouldn't know, but we squarely put this matter at the doorstep of the government. You are the owner of these public institutions. You know pretty well that those institutions are funded by the exchequer. And even where you have maybe felt that it was not, suitable for you to do that because the court has told you, you have chosen to fight it or, challenge it. And the court has told you, no, it is like this. Get the money and do it. So with that aspect, or that aspect alone, you could perhaps then see that maybe the government is not being responsible on this particular matter. And number two, it would also mean that perhaps the government is giving education a kind of lukewarm attention. Because sectors in this country, education is key. The knowledge economy is key to any developing country. Look at even our revenue. A big chunk of the total revenue collected in this country comes from the diaspora. The diaspora people who bring money back home here most of them pass through these institutions, and they are trying to bring back the money. But now here we are, we receive the money as a government, but we don't want to make good use of that money by ensuring that education is given priority, it continues developing and churning out, manpower. So I would say that yes, the government maybe is playing hardball. As to whether it doesn't have money, that is neither here nor there, because everybody sees what is happening in this country. Yes, we are seeing money being dished out, even money that is not budgeted for. When you just wake up and say, 20 billion shillings, we give it to whoever, so and so. Remember, first of all, even if health is a sector like education, health is devolved. When the national government is coming out and giving out 20 billion like that, what is happening with the county governments that run those facilities? So we are seeing that the government cannot say it doesn't have money. The government has money. Look at the high taxes that Kenyans are now, paying. Again, it is not possible that the government doesn't have money.
Look,
yes,
I want to look at the sincerity from negotiators. Let me say negotiators in terms of the union and the government.
Right.
By the time this CBA was being arrived at, it came out of negotiation where both sides sat on a table and agreed 16.5 billion shillings. And by the time you are depositing these at the court is when there were objections to 16.5. But the origin of 16.5 billion is because both sides sat and agreed on the figure that is 16.5 billion. Why would the government turn around and reject that which it sat on the table and agreed was an amount that we could afford?
It's a paradox, even to ourselves. As I said, when we negotiate as negotiators, we don't use any coercion or any form of force to get us arrive at an agreement. But it happened that we can sit, agree, and then you turn around, the same people who have agreed with you, turn around and say, around the corner and say, no, we're objecting to it. We do not know, but we suspect that the turnaround was because of the wrong or misadvice given by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. The bone of contention that brought out this problem is this. You know, a collective bargaining agreement, when it is being implemented, there are two movements. First of all, you're an employee. You are within a given salary scale or a job group. That job group is not static. Every now and then, every year you move until you reach your maximum of that salary scale. So there is a movement from the notch where you are to the next one, until. Then there's another movement that you have agreed on this table that salary, for example, is going to be 4% salary increase. Meaning for 4 years, 1%, 1%, 1% every year. That movement is horizontal. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. But as you move that way, remember that you're also moving in your salary scale from notch 1, notch 2, like that. Now, when we agreed, we said this particular CBA, the total cost includes horizontal movement and vertical movement. In essence, the movement becomes diagonal. That is how a CBA is implemented. But the Constitutional Commission, mandated to advise government and government agencies on public service remuneration, said no. You cannot move twice. If you move twice, it's double payment. So they are the ones who therefore went ahead and now misadvised these agencies or fellow government agencies and said, no, the cost can only be 8.8. If you do 8.8, then you'll only move horizontal. But if you move, taking into account your automatic annual increment, which is a right to every public servant, it is in the records.
Yeah.
Yes, to cushion you against inflations and such like. You're cushioned, you move every year. So when you do that total movement, the whole thing comes to 16.5. And we convinced them that is the one. But funny enough, when it arrived on the desk of the court, the commission misadvised them and insisted, no, it can only be 8.8.
All right. You wanted to go?
Go, just go.
Is this money budgeted? I'm asking because it seems as though there are concurrent conversations during the fiscal year, and that we have to, apply it to the fiscal year because this is a government bill, essentially. So it then follows the financial year. So education at this level, one would assume, falls under this 600 plus odd billion shillings. This money that we're talking about falls within the budget that was already done, right? So when the minister stands in Parliament and gives those numbers, this money that we are talking about is factored into the budget. So it's been budgeted for. It's not somewhere in the middle of the year, university dons and non-academic and academic staff come and say we want an increment. It's not that. So it's money that was budgeted for. So if it was budgeted for, why do we see this tug of war back and forth for money that you already budgeted for to pay people? It's why is there a renegotiation and having to go to court and all of this? It was in the budget. Why do we have to go back and forth?
Very interesting. I think the government would be best placed to answer that. But it is true, monies that come to the universities are budgeted for. But for some reason, strange reason, if you choose not to include part of this money in your budgetary estimates simply because you think you're in court, thinking that perhaps the court then will give you a favorable a ruling that then will ensure that you only pay whatever little that you budgeted for, that is a problem. For us, this money is budgeted for. What we are being told right now is that this money was not budgeted for. But you remember, The ruling was done in 2020, 21. How many financial years are those? So there is laxity and there is just lack of commitment on the side of those who are responsible to get these budgetary allocations made. So for us, we know that universities get their money budgeted for and it's drawn from the consolidated account. And that's why members are saying, no, you pay us this money. And so as we push right now, what the government is trying to tell us is that, this money was not budgeted for and therefore give us time to ensure that we budget for it. We're saying, no, that's why we have these supplementary budgets.
Right.
Yes, you have now it has been confirmed that you made a mistake. Carry that burden. Get this thing fixed in whatever budgetary estimate that you want. There is something called Article 223 of the Constitution that allows the government to expend and then regularize those expenditure in the subsequent budgetary estimates. It's one of the things that we are trying to pursue with the government. There's a lot of discussion and negotiations going on, trying to see which way can we be able to get these things done. So yes, it was budgeted for, it was not budgeted for, but that is not our issue. Yeah.
I mean, so 2017, when this conversation started, this was a different administration. And just listening to you from the very beginning, conversations were held between you and the other agencies representing government, and there was an agreement. Then suddenly there is a court case, and they're the first again to come and object.
Right.
So clearly, it shows there was no goodwill from the very beginning.
Right.
And the monies that you'd agreed in terms of now the faces. And it almost appears, because since I think since we started going to school, we've been seeing a lot of strikes. And a lot of times different administrations and the approach is almost similar. Is they will allow you, okay, go on your strike. They will tell you, okay, go back to work. There will be threats, okay, you might lose jobs, you might do this, you might do that. This cyclical concept from the government standpoint almost feels like, okay, maybe these people are not very, very strategic. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it difficult. We're going to stall this. And this appears like it's just stalling, like I'd said earlier. What will it take to achieve a lasting solution, not just to this, because in another 5 years again, in another administration, something else will come up. You'll sit down with government, you'll have some agreements, then there will be a case taken to court, then there will be an appeal if there's a ruling, and then there will be a judgment much later on, then there will be stalling, then come to the table, let's have a conversation. You said now the current one is, can we have these in phases up to 2029? Already. So it clearly tells you there is a pattern here from as far back as what, 10, 20 years. So there's always been this pattern. What will it take to have this lasting solution? That's my first question. Question number 2. Now I'm looking at the situation with the students, with parents. Even as, we're also being sympathetic that, okay, look, you need to be paid. The court has made a judgment on this, and this is money that you need. But if the strike then continues, because we're in week 7, if the strike continues to week 8, let's even assume the strike continues to 6 months, in the worst case scenario, what's KUSU's plan, number 1, to sustain it without again hurting the very institutions that you're representing? It's a catch-22 situation, but how will you balance this?
Okay, Dennis, thank you. Yes, I want to agree with you, first of all. There are signs of lack of goodwill from those who are responsible. But then you're asking, what will it take? I also agree with you that it has been for a number of years where we have had this perennial industrial action being undertaken by employees in our public universities, and therefore impeding on the academic programs of these boys and girls. And so it's like it's a continuous cycle, and so on and so forth. Partly, if not majorly, is because these institutions, our vice chancellors do not tell the government the truth.
Really?
Yes.
What are you saying?
They don't tell the government the truth.
About what?
When money is required and the amount of money that is required by these institutions, you have been appointed by the government to run that institution on behalf of the government.
Right.
But you don't give the correct information to your appointee. These are guys who tremble even before peers, before CS. You're supposed to go there and tell him, look, you have given me the mandate to run this institution, but for this particular financial year or this particular period, I need this amount of money.
And there's none.
Please give me, and of course you're giving that with your documentary evidence to support your justifications. You see that? That's number one. They don't tell the government the truth that actually our members of staff require this amount of money. How do they do it? They do that by not including these CBA monies in their budgetary estimates. If you don't put, we have something called the wage guidelines, 2005. These were released by the late finance minister then, David Mwiraria. They are still in force. According to the wage guidelines, a public employee is supposed to do his or her budgetary estimates using those guidelines. When you are budgeting, go and actually get the guide from there. Ask for what you think is adequate for your employees. But then as you do that, supply enough justification that you need that money. So our universities do not include these CBA monies in their budgetary estimates properly.
Why would they do that?
I don't know. Number two, they do it late. When we are negotiating, we negotiate late. Like, for example, we are negotiating 2021, 2025 CBA. We negotiate it in 2024. And it's supposed to have begun its life in 2021, but we are negotiating it in 2024. So how many financial years have already passed? So it becomes a challenge even for Parliament to appropriate, because you are negotiating this CBA late. That's another angle, that our university managers are not helping the process. We as unions give them our proposals in good time. For example, we are supposed to be now in the CBA 25-29. This CBA's life began on 1st of July 2025 to cover until June 30th, 2029. Do you know we have not even started it?
I beg your pardon?
We have not started negotiating it.
Okay.
Yeah? So, obviously it tells you that down the line, a few weeks, again we'll be back on the street saying, we are supposed to negotiate the CBA. So, the issue here is that the people responsible are not being proactive in doing what they're supposed to do. But I would hesitate and say this. This current government has tried a little bit to try and remove that problem. We did sign our 2021-2025 CBA. We signed it late last year. It's actually in the middle of implementation. It's just a small bit that is remaining. And then we did agree that we start our negotiations for the 25-29 CBA in February this year, which we have not started. But the government was of the view, and is still of the view, that if we begin these CBA negotiations early enough before the cycle begins, we can actually then curtail this perennial industrial action. So it is this arrears of those many years that perhaps is still delaying the jump starting of the new negotiations. So the only way to get out of this cyclic industrial action in the universities is to ensure that we negotiate in good time and get the negotiated and agreed agreements in the budgets. Then allow Parliament to appropriate.
You know, Doc, another thing that perhaps maybe needs to be pushed is to ensure that we have VCs who actually wear their boots and do the job, because we're speaking about individuals who are afraid of speaking straight to power on what they need.
Yes.
And one would say it is managing the situation just so you look good, but in the meantime, it will still come back to bite you. So since we know that, fine, there is negotiation that needs to start early, but we need to equally have managers who know what it is they're doing. So as a union, as a major stakeholder, parents, government, students, how do we fix the problem of managers who do not know what it is they're doing? Because we'll still end up here.
Yes, it's true. I totally agree with you. You know, Kenya is a very interesting country where we have politicized everything, including education. I can tell you, the men and women appointed to run these institutions know which side of their bread is buttered. And when they are speaking to the powers that are, they are very careful. Because they want to keep their jobs, number two. They want to retain and, renew their terms in office. So they will choose to tell the government what they would like the government to hear. And when we sit with the government, we always tell the government, for us, we will tell you even what we will not want you to hear. So do not just listen to these men and women alone, but listen to us also as stakeholders. And this is something we have even told in the current crisis. We have told the Ministry of Education, the CS and the PS, you made a mistake by only listening to SRC, only listening to the Vice Chancellors. Because the Vice Chancellor, he will not tell you that I need this money now. There was only one Vice Chancellor who used to do that. May God rest his soul in peace. Professor George Magoha. And the crop of vice chancellors during his time, Professor Mugenda in KU, Professor Mebo in JKUAT, Professor Twitowek in Egerton, Professor Mibei in Moi, those who are people who would run these institutions and say, hey, we're having a problem. And Magoha would lead them and say, what do we need? We need money. Come on, let's go. And they'll all go to Jogo House.
So it sounds to me that it's not a money problem, but it's a leadership issue.
It's leadership. Leadership is lacking in our institutions. When we have men and women who are afraid to speak the truth, what do you expect? What do you expect? We'll have these problems. And now when they are cornered, they say, no, it was SRC that was advising us. But what did you tell SRC? It begins from the employer. The information that you share with that commission is what will inform that commission's advisory.
But even without being told,
Yes.
Don't you think they know what the issue is? They don't even need to be told. If you are actually the education CS, obviously you have your ears on the ground. You will know, even if you're not being told, we have a problem in our universities.
Yes.
You will seek to find answers. So what's going on? You have directors under you. You've got managers under you. And they will obviously know that there is a problem going on in these institutions of ours, though you're not being told the truth. They gather intelligence. They know these things. My question is, do you honestly think the Ministry of Education, and in this case by extension, government in general, cares about lecturers in this country?
I would tell you, from what is happening and what has happened in the past, the government seems not to be so concerned with education. The government is not concerned. The government seems to be concerned with other things. For example, road construction, housing, health. Those ones are more, they're given more attention for whatever reason. But when it comes to education, we do not know what happens. And that's why I started by saying the priorities as a country, we seem to have our priorities down. A country that does not have education, and particularly university education running, so that we attract the collaborators, we attract the innovators coming in, we attract, they are looking at us worldwide. We are now being looked at as a pariah state in terms of education. Who would want to come and partner with our researchers here in this current situation? Or how are our graduates then looked at?
Because look at the ripple effect,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
If we look at what was the university's table in Africa that, of course, you had universities, top tier universities in the public arena. You had University of Witwatersrand in South Africa, University of Nairobi,
Yes,
the
Makerere.
University of Ibadan in Nigeria, Makerere University in Uganda. Because there is continuity of excellence, and there's so many pillars that contribute towards that. It's not just lecturers in class teaching. That the entire ecosystem has to be at par in order for you to even be on that thing in the first place. So when we look at the effects of something like this, where it looks like it's just a boardroom war, we don't realize the actual effect that it has inwardly, outwardly, to students, to families, to parents. I'm trying to figure out how lecturers who are supposed to be paid not are able to sustain their families. Do you understand? So when we can look at it at an insular level, but then also what happens, just like you're saying, on the face of it, where we are asking that 15%, for example, of the budget goes towards research, for example, in the medical field. Where is that research happening if not at universities? Are you telling me that research is going to be going and be paid for if you can't pay a salary for a lecturer or non-academic staff? This is the thing that we're talking about. Until we have the realization of the total effect that something that you can't sit down and actually do in a boardroom or wherever it is that you have your meeting, if you don't see the effect of that, then it seems to me we have a much deeper problem. Because we can find 50 million on a Sunday. We can find 100 million on a Saturday.
Yeah.
We can find that money. But then to mitigate the negative effect of not doing something like this, we don't seem to be able to do that. What's it going to take for us to see? It's just like corruption. We dilly-dally with it because we don't actually see the effect of it on economies, on people, on families, on individuals, on children. And so we can still, doing this flirtatious dance with it. But this is not funny.
It's not. It's not. I can tell you, this is right in the corner of the government. If the government puts down its foot and say, we want to pay attention to each and every sector of this economy. I've told you knowledge economy is key to any developing country, to any country. In fact, when they're looking at how a developed a country is, they look at, the percentage of its population that has, education and so on and so forth. They look at, among other things. Now, when we come to Kenya, the government is a little, you had the head of state the other day saying, look, the problem in our universities, I will not address it. Because that one is being addressed by the minister or the cabinet secretary.
No, but
For me, I want to
called
address
teachers, 10,000 of them to State House the other day. How is it not a matter to be addressed?
He said he's concerned with barabara, he's concerned with housing, he's concerned with health and so on and so forth. But then you ask yourself, don't these other sectors also have cabinet secretaries? They do, yeah. But it tells you that where the rubber meets the road is that the government is not playing its role in ensuring that education in this country is up there. Look at the schools. How late are they receiving their capitation?
If they are.
You're seeing that?
Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so there is a problem. And that problem, in our view, the government, it is squarely under the feet of the government. The government can put this matter to rest once and for all, and we move ahead.
Dr. Radon, we talk about education in universities. Now it was told. We had a student leader here last week, and he was just painting a picture of how, when dons go back to class, what it would mean to catch up, to play catch up. Those who are supposed to go for internship might not go because of we're trying to catch up, time has gone and all this.
Yes.
And you look at the quality that comes at the end of graduation, and there is a problem with that. And if you just pause, for anyone who just pause to look at the education sector and how critical it is to the growth of an economy, the growth of a country, respect a country gets, and one would say, perhaps we need to pay more attention and just do right by the students pretty much and the parents. But do we really care?
Yes, I can tell you, one thing I can assure you is that the moment we get back to work and in class to teach our students, we will do our best. Any time that has been lost, I can assure you that will be recovered. Even if it means having evening or weekend classes and eating perhaps into even the holidays, you can be able to do that. But it is true that it may disrupt a bit of, for example, those who are to go for teaching practice, for those who are to go for attachment, internship, and so on and so forth, but not quite much. Because you remember we have quite a fairly long vacation from April all the way to September. Yeah, so time can easily be gotten. Just in case we are not able to cover what has been lost within the remaining time and part of early in the new year.
Okay.
Yes, it can still be gotten.
What is this doing to the quality of education in the country? Because as we speak today, if you just look at private universities, they are lined up going for graduations left, right, center. Public universities at a standstill. What are we doing to the quality of education?
Indeed, it does impact on the quality of education. These disruptions do impact on that. You find then that students are not able, like I know of many parents who are calling, my child is supposed to be in his 5th year engineering. His classmates who went elsewhere are actually graduating.
Yep.
This one is still in 4th year because of these disruptions. It does in a way affect the quality, but not so much in my view, because we have syllabus that is supposed to be covered. If a student is able to cover the hours that he's meant to cover with the teacher, hours is supposed to cover with practice. If you're doing the practicals or the hands-on, you're still able to cover them. The only thing that it does affect is that it takes you a little longer. It may take you a little longer to finish your academic program.
More expensive.
And more expensive in terms of what you have to pay, what your parents are supposed to chip in, and so on and so forth. And then psychological also, the student is affected. Because it's I was in class with you in Thika High, for example. We sat and did the same KCSE exam. I went to Strathmore, and you chose to join University of Nairobi. Then you see me after a short while in Strathmore, I'm graduating.
It's going to do a number on you for sure.
Yes, and you are still. So psychologically, this student will be hit. And that would affect, of course, his...
Is that a ticking time bomb?
Yes.
It is.
It is.
It's sad that we have to negotiate for something that one would imagine would be so, cut and dry in terms of what needs to happen. It's our hope that this can be resolved, and that it's a hope that we have to keep it alive, that it can actually be sorted, because it's not political. It's, in terms of what needs to be done, it's not political. We understand that the politics of it is being used to draw this out. But it's our hope that this system can get back to working right. And we'll keep highlighting it until it does.
Yes.
Dr. Charles Mukhwaya, thank you for being here this morning.
Yes. Thank you so much. In fact, I want to assure you and the public, there's a lot of discussions going on this matter. A lot. We are concerned that we need to get this issue resolved once and for all. When we last sat down with our social partners, the employers and the government, particularly the university councils, we did agree. At the point where we were disagreeing that you are proposing 3-phase payment plan. We want one payment plan.
Right.
That was our point of departure. At that point of departure, we did agree on one thing. That everybody should now go out there, lobby, consult, with a view of bringing this matter to a closure.
Get it fixed.
So they are doing their bit. Us, we are also doing a bit. And we are consulting at very, very, very high levels of the government in this country. We told our employers, you guys may be afraid of talking to who
you need to talk to.
We will do it. So we don't know how far they have gone, but I can assure, even as we sit right now, we are going to Parliament right now. Remember, I was telling Evelyn, maybe my time may not be allowing, but as from 11 o'clock, we're in Parliament trying to present this particular matter. Tomorrow, we'll be meeting other agencies to try and fast-track this process. So there are indications that there is going to be light at the end of the tunnel.
Please do keep us informed of the progress. It's also, we have a responsibility also to follow up and to make sure that folks who are definitely involved then have an answer.
We will.
Thank you so much for being here this morning, and also thank you for being here with us on the Situation Room this Tuesday. Asante Sana, those conversations necessary for us to have, and we'll have them every day. Ndu Dennis and Dennis with you this morning. Have a good day.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.